Oh, good morning. Welcome in. Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, brought to you by Older Brother Bistro, sister restaurant to Two Brothers, and also Luva Wine Bar, which is right down the street. Unbelievable, beautiful upscale wine bar with amazing food, all in Starkville. Older Brother Bistro in the Cotton District, Luva Wine Bar in the Cotton District too. We welcome in Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show. All right, Steve, it was a crazy day. Some signing days are, some are not. Well, I think they're all crazy for you and your team, but Gene's page was all over everything. But let's get straight into Tyler Lockhart, the number one linebacker in the state of Mississippi. He had been committed to MSU for a long time. Ole Miss makes a run. And then you take it away as far as what all happened yesterday and how he ended up as a Hail State signee.
Well, it's an interesting deal. It's, Ole Miss had him, come in, watch the Egg Bowl, take a visit at the last minute. This is a guy that we've actually been expecting to sign with Mississippi State for 2 years, ever since his brother, signed with State, TJ. And, he committed kind of out of the blue to Auburn. And a lot of people are like, oh, I can't believe this. And I said, guys, just let it play out. Okay, this is a young guy. It's very impressionable. Just let it play out. Well, of course, he backs off of that commitment, commits to Mississippi State. He had been committed to Mississippi State long before he actually made the announcement. And then Ole Miss comes in late and kind of muddies the water. And that's what good recruiters do. And sometimes people forget that aspect of it. Everybody wants the same thing, right? Everybody out there is working hard to get the same thing. And so when, there was some projections, some people, and I think a lot of that comes from one source, which is never a way to do business. But all that understood, we'll save that conversation for another day. What we heard basically all morning is that the family was adamant that he was not going to go to Ole Miss. And it's nothing against Ole Miss. I think it's important to kind of understand that. There's not this anti-Ole Miss sentiment within the group. It's just that Tyler's a bit of an impressionable young man. And, the family reportedly just felt that he would do better, with his brother, TJ Lockhart, and his best friend, Fat Clark. The three of them were like brothers, and just felt like that it would be easier for him to transition from home to acclimating to life in the Southeastern Conference. And so even up until, we'll get done with the Levy press conference yesterday. And at that point, Jeff even says, maybe we can get two more. They were waiting on, LaQuavian Jackson and Tyler Lockhart. So I walk outside and, get word that, hey, Tyler Lockhart's mom and uncle are on the way to the school to sit and talk with him, and they're going to get this thing worked out. Next thing you know, he's streaming out there that he's going to Ole Miss. And then it took forever, for Ole Miss to announce him as a signee. And so I'm in the car heading home, and I got people asking me, has he been officially announced as a signee? Because, obviously with a big recruiting win like that, you want that out there as quickly as possible. And we've gone through some scenarios a little bit like this one before where there's something that's wrong, right? There's something, you maybe get some paperwork issue, whatever. So probably every hour for a long time, I kept getting, he's still not listed as a signee. He's not a signee. And then the tweet comes out from Ole Miss, and I said, well, okay, well, that's it. I mean, they wouldn't have put that out there without, everything being as it should. And turns out that it wasn't. And so we get word, I guess it's about 7:40 last night, that this thing wasn't over. And to be honest with you, Bo, when I begin to get those calls, I'm thinking, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah. We'll see how that plays out. The next phone call I get is they want to sign with Mississippi State, and that she had not facilitated the paperwork to close out his recruitment with Ole Miss. And that, he's 17, so you have to have the custodial parent sign with the student athlete, and that she absolutely wasn't going to sign with Ole Miss. And so then they both signed with Mississippi State. And then I get a call that says, hey, State's about to announce officially that Tyler Lockhart is a Mississippi State signee. And basically what happened is, everything has to be e-signed these days. And it kind of goes back to that Floyd Ravens scenario that played out with Ole Miss. And it's like, I want people to understand, I'm not taking shots at Ole Miss here, but there were some safeguards put in place. And if you remember that situation back in 2011, where Floyd Raven was announced as a signee by Ole Miss and Texas A&M, there were later allegations that the mom forged his signature on the letter of intent for Ole Miss. Well, Houston Nutt was there. They get the whole thing worked out. Ole Miss releases him as a signee. The kid goes to A&M. Everything's fine. But there were some safeguards put in place to prevent something like that from ever happening again. And that's where the e-sign documents became, a big thing to give everybody some protection. And so Mississippi State has the actual e-sign documents from Tyler Lockhart and his mother, and Ole Miss does not. So as a result, he is now officially a Mississippi State signee.
All right, Ole Miss fans are texting me saying, sad, didn't allow him to go where he wanted to go. Your reaction to that, Steve Robertson?
Well, God rest his soul, but didn't we have a similar situation play out with MJ Daniels when the shoe was on the other foot? And there's a reason that we have parents sign for kids that are under the age of 18, and it's because of the fact that, sometimes kids can be easily manipulated. And, Bo, I don't know how your family was, but I remember the very first time that I mentioned to my dad that, I may go visit Ole Miss. And he goes, well, you're welcome to go. My money won't be going with you, And so that seems kind of jokey, but the reality of it is that, it is what it is, and if he goes to Mississippi State and he's unhappy this year, he'll be 18 next year and he can get in transfer portal and go wherever he likes. But, I think it's important too that the most important thing here is the young man and his family. It's not the rivalry. And I know we've had a good time with all that in the last several hours, everybody kind of goading back and forth, like, all these people in my Twitter mentions when he announces for Ole Miss, and so then, when the situation's reversed, I mean, it's just good rivalry talk. But at the end of the day, this is about a young man and his family. And, if he didn't want to be here, he wouldn't be here. But, there have been several instances in the past where, a parent has kind of stepped up and says, no, this is what we're going to do. I mean, how many times do you hear about every kid when they're juniors and we interview them? I'll go anywhere in the country. For the right opportunity. And then on signing day, what do they all say? Well, I wanted to be closer to home and close to my family, and there have been situations in the past where, I could name probably 100 of them where a guy comes out and commits to some school, far away from home, but in the end, the family kind of comes in and says, hey, this is what's best for everybody involved. And, I think too, the thing with Tyler and TJ, I mean, if they're at opposite schools, where does mama go on game day? You kind of put her in a difficult situation too. And so, but at the end of the day, it was a family decision, and the custodial parent may have been the person that made that decision. I don't know all of those details around it, but the reality of it is this a guy's been committed to Mississippi State for a long time, and now he's signed with Mississippi State.
And we'll leave it there. Steve Robertson. All right, Steve, I've got 20 seconds. We've still got the bet on Coleman Hutzler. Is Hutzler back for another year, or do they make a change in the next week?
I think he's back for another year.
I cannot believe they're going to walk this thing back. All right, thanks, Steve Robertson. Appreciate it. GenesPage.com, 247 Sports. Steve joined us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. I think that is a terrible decision by the football program and the athletic department. And I don't know if they're tone deaf or what. But Steve Palazzolo coming up next. NFL Podcast of the Year. Let's talk some NFL football.